Internet Investigations, or welcome for the first time to Internet Investigations. I mean, if you haven't watched the intro in the first episode to this series and you happen to be watching this, I guess watch the intro just so you can know where I'm coming from. The whole point of Internet Investigations is I, as Chase Clarence Calloway, am investigating what the internet has to say about my past lives. So I already get into who I am in Internet Investigations, the intro, and the first episode. I mean, this whole series is about who I am. But the point is, when I learn more about who I am, I can provide you more clarity on who you are. Because the whole issue in this realm that we're in right now is that it is ruled by separation. So the moment a spirit creates a body to experience life down here, they somehow get convinced that they're not the spirit, mainly through all these religions and the governments, right? And specifically, especially the English language, because the point of this English language was to erase indigenous spirituality. So Hermeticism, Mercury in general, is an indigenous god. But of course, because Europe has to steal everything that they have, literally every single thing that white people have was stolen from black people. So to go deeper and better with those words, everything that Europeans stole from indigenous peoples is something that they're still using to express how they're better than indigenous peoples. So for example, democracy. Indigenous peoples gave Europeans democracy when they came and invaded the Americas. But obviously America acts like it's superior to Native Americans and they're savages because it has democracy. When literally the Native Americans had to beg the invading Crusader Europeans to take on their democracy because the Native Americans didn't want to see the British and the French and all these different European fractions kill each other, because all these Europeans hate themselves. And the only way all of Europe could agree to hate indigenous peoples enough to build all of North, South, and Central America was to create the words white and black. So now they can erase all of our culture. They can erase all of our indigenous individuality by telling us that we are what they want us to be when they're invading our land and stealing our families from our homes and our resources from everything. And cool. So it's really important that I give this indigenous perspective and set all this straight, because as of right now, everyone has been so whitewashed by this light supremacist government. They believe that Hermes is white in general. They think that Odin is white. They think that even Thoth is white. Like we already saw in Tablet Talks, there's a guy impersonating me as Thoth on Amazon. And he's a white dude who's telling everyone that Thoth is some emissary of Alcyon promoting source consciousness. And then it's just all this ugly, gross ass lostness that we already got into in Tablet Talks episode 2. So I, as a spirit, have to create a body in this realm and get indoctrinated into the same systems that are being used to erase indigenous spirituality so that I can convey the truth of indigenous spirituality inside of this system, right? So you wouldn't be able to understand anything I'm saying if I did not take 24 years of my life to get connected to schools, churches, my family, friends, the whole just New World Order system. And all that only matters because of language, right? Because we're speaking language through all these things. So my language is English here in the United States. That's like the predominant language that's being used to erase indigenous peoples all across the world. So, and then of course, Spanish really too. So, and really Spanish has done a powerful job of erasing indigenous peoples, because Spanish has taken over so many indigenous lands and so many indigenous languages that Europeans have been able to twist the narrative so that modern day people literally think that Spanish is indigenous, because they associate Spanish with Mexican and Mexican with indigenous, because it's all the Central American vibe. whereas English is supposed to be the actually white language. And it's all white because it's all European. But the whole point is to like erase indigenous spirituality as hard as possible. That's why we have climate change. And that's why the scientific community, the medical community, the governments, they don't care about stopping climate change. They only care about making money talking about how they can't stop it. That's all we're going to see on the internet. That's all I've been hearing since high school. Like the governments that are actively poisoning this world, poisoning the environment that we live in, saying that humans can't stop climate change. They're saying it's our fault. And then that's where I, as Mercury, have to say, yeah, it is humanity's fault. All of us as humans are supporting systems that don't support the environment we're in, which means we don't support the environment we're in. So we don't even support ourselves because all of our spirits are inside of our own environments. So if you are not intelligent enough to know that you created the circumstance to be able to connect with an environment outside of yourself, it's kind of impossible to really respect or appreciate that world. So this is what like religions, this is the mind state religions have people in, where they don't care about the environment. They don't care about climate change. They don't care about nature. They just care about their desires. And their desires are love and light. So they love light. Like that's simple. Like that's it. That's every religion. So now we can see, what kind of light do you love? Do you love to cannibalize people? Do you like to eat children? Do you like to abuse children, right? We call you the Vatican Church in that case, right? That's an example of what kind of light they like. Or are you a religion that likes the light of peace and you like light of nature, right? So now that would be a religion that's more indigenous because it's recognizing that we're actually using light to create the circumstances where we can connect. So now we can have full empathy for what it means to connect. We're not going to be lost in us projecting our individual religion onto someone else and saying that because they don't agree that they're an extension of our Heavenly Father, we can rape and murder them. Like, what? Like, so you're just doing what you want. Like, either you're saying they need to worship you and follow your rules, or you're saying that they are denouncing the one true God, and now you can do whatever you want to them. Either way, you're projecting into their space and doing whatever you want to these indigenous individuals. And all the while saying that they don't matter. But obviously, us as indigenous peoples matter enough for you to take over everything that we create and tell us that we don't create things. And it's like, obviously you don't create things, or else you would not be taking over our land and taking over all of our resources and splitting our families apart and forcing us to learn languages that we didn't create so that we can feel like we were literally built by your imagination. So the issue down here is separation. All right. The whole point of Always Ascending Academy, Trace Your Genes, is me as CymaTree bringing Mercury to Earth. So that's why we have all of our courses about raising your vibration through fasting. We got Decolonize Your Face because your teeth are really important. And tooth care down here is completely backwards. I lived that. Like, I got braces and experienced how they create problems in your face. They create skeletal issues. They destabilize your spine. They mess up your teeth with metal and make you pay for it. And I've been reversing all that. It just takes time because it took time for them to mess up my face. And it took time for my teeth to become crooked in the first place because I'm being forced by the same system that's putting braces on my teeth to destroy my cranium, to destroy the way that my skull is supposed to be formed. I'm being forced by this very same system that's using my caduceus to pump poisons into my bloodstream to sit all day, every day, because I need to absorb their lies in order to be fit for the workforce that they're using to take over my land. And it's all based on ideas that they've already stolen from me as Mercury. So it's like these entities, this government, just all it can do is steal and steal and steal and rape and murder to get that done, and then lie about it so people feel good, continuing to support how they rape and murder and steal from everyone to matter at all. That's all America has ever been. That's all Europe has ever been. That's really all Russia has ever been. That's really all the New World Order in general has ever been. is stealing from indigenous peoples so that they can create something to further enslave indigenous peoples, because that's the only way they can be seen in the universe, is through enslaving other people. Or else no one would care about them. Like, no one would care about these people that we're forced to call white, because they're alone. And when they're alone, they're not doing anything alone that is worth us connecting with them. That's why they have to forcibly come into our land, tell us that we're worth some amount of money that they just made up. And now, really, obviously, the money's not real. We're real, but they're going to use their made up idea of money to make us build their reality. And then that's how indigenous peoples get twisted into black people, and then black people build all of the Americas, North, South, and Central America, all in their own land from people lying to them. So this is all of psychology. This is all of European American psychology, is this kind of subconscious history. So what inspired me to do this series was getting onto the internet and seeing and investigating, literally, internet investigations. We want to investigate how all of European psychology, all of European medicine and anatomy, basically everything that Europe has is stolen from Hermes. And then that's where, when we look up Hermes, Europe cannot deny on a spiritual level everything I'm telling to you now in Chase Your Genes, that Hermes and Tehuti, Thoth, are both expressions of one spirit. And then really we can see on the internet that people know that Thoth, Hermes, and Odin are all expressions of one spirit. And then people know that Thoth, Hermes, Odin, and even Quetzalcoatl, all expressions of one spirit. People know that Hermes, Odin, Quetzalcoatl, Thoth, and so many others. Because like multiple names just came to mind. So it's literally about like knowing how to travel along the web, right? Like we know it's a world wide web for a reason, www. So all of the ideas on the internet are connected by the vibration, and that manifests as energy, right? So literally we're seeing real life alchemy play out right here, where the internet, every single idea is a frequency, but that fiery frequency of an idea cannot exist alone. It has to exist amongst a collective. So the internet is a collective vibration that allows all ideas, all frequency to exist as energy. So now when we pull up the internet, we see its energy, right? We can't touch these words, but we can read them and they can matter to us. So then that's where we can see that we're not the body, we're the mind. And the internet is one mental playground. So that, and of course the mind can only express itself through bodies. So all of our minds are playing on the internet, right? That's the point of them wanting to make us work in the metaverse forever. Because they want to make money out of making us work instead of playing. And we're supposed to be playing in this simulation, but they want to trap us in their simulation that's causing climate change inside of our actual natural simulation. But again, these aliens are here to destroy the planet. Mark Zuckerberg is here to destroy the planet. Elon Musk is here to destroy the planet. Stephen Hawking, here to destroy the planet. That's why they are super advocates for going to Mars, and advocates for the idea that humanity, it's too late for humans here. We've already destroyed this planet and we need to go back to Mars. Because the only people who think they should go to Mars are not humans. I promise they're Martians. I promise you. I promise you the only individuals who want to go back to Mars are people who are from Mars. Otherwise, you're a human who made a body here because you chose to be in this atmosphere. So any tech company billionaire who's like, oh, Mars, I want to go live there. You're a Martian. You're an alien. You're already from Mars and you're in an atmosphere that you don't belong in, which is why you're advocating for the climate change and destruction of this atmosphere. Because these tech companies and these oil corporations and these world governments in general are constantly working to turn this big blue body of water into a dry red desert planet. That's why Westworld and in general the Wild West, America is obsessed with the desert and obsessed with killing people out in the desert and waging war out in dry areas. It's all Martian. It's all Martian. The Wild West, all that cowboy stuff, all that UFO stuff, and like people getting abducted out in the desert. It's all Martians expressing their imagination through what we call America, aka Merkaba, because they stole that from me as Metatron. And then they just twist it into their light supremacist version of how they want to further trap all of our Merkabas, which is our minds. So we can see online, like Tehuti, Hermes, Metatron, literally, Quetzalcoatl, Odin, Idris, Zoroaster. They're all going to be aspects of Mercurius. And then Mercury in general is the messenger of the gods. So the point of me being here right now making this video is letting you know that my spirit built Mercury to stabilize how it connects with the universe. And then from there, I create bodies into simulations based on who calls me away from Mercury. So in this reality, I'm Clarence Calloway, because I've literally been called away from my simulation to communicate about how you built your body, how we build simulations like this one, so that we can actually consciously connect in a way that's harmonious, healthy, and happy, aka hermetic, right? Because this is the whole point of me as Hermes at all, in anywhere in the universe. Like, this is my whole point. I have my caduceus. I'm flying away from my space of Mercury to talk to whatever simulation called me away about Hermeticism, about Cymacism, about Odinism or Zoroastrianism, or any other system of communication I'm using to build a structure there. Because that's all a religion is, a system of communication to build a structure. Right? So every religion is dictated by the language. So really, it doesn't matter if you worship a religion, the language that you're speaking is the first religion that you're forced to uphold to connect with anyone. Like, whatever language you're speaking, that is a religion. Like, it's a repeating legion of demons. Literally, it's a re-legion. You're repeating these same words, binding your soul in the same spells every day so that these symbols can mean something. Otherwise, they don't mean anything. Like, otherwise, what? Like, you haven't connected with them, right? So this is why we have to get born into a world where we erase our memories from the past, and then we can absorb in that world. And then our spirit naturally introduces our memories to us as we grow older in that world. Now we can learn how to use the world to express our individuality. So that's what you're doing with this language. You get born into a reality where you're using all the resources, right? Someone forces you to learn their language. Okay, well, fine. You're going to use your language to alchemize and express your individuality, like I'm doing right now. So right here, we've got symbolreader.net. We are continuing our investigations on how psychology and anatomy, and just in general, all of European science is stolen from Hermes. And they know that Hermes is the same exact spirit as Tehuti Trismegistus, hence why it's Hermes Trismegistus, Tehuti Trismegistus. When Tehuti and when Tehuti and Anubis fuse together, they become Hermanubis. That's so funny. I don't feel like cutting these. I don't cut these. All right. Welcome to Airland. Welcome to Airland, bro. All right. I'm kind of airheaded right now, and people have told me that I'm airy. So, hey, Mercury's an air planet. All right. My ascendant is a Gemini. My sun is a Taurus. My moon is a Virgo. My ascendant is a Gemini. And then, of course, we just can go even deeper in knowing that Virgo and Gemini are both the ruling signs of Mercury. So literally, I built Mercury to express myself. And then that's where these energy signatures in astrology of Gemini and Virgo are mainly associated and authored by my space. And then the whole point is that all of us are creating a system. So just like language is a system of religion that we use to connect with each other, astrology is literally a system of religion that we use to connect with each other. So this is where every religion is astrological. If the Bible tells you not to practice astrology, it's literally only because it's practicing astrology on you. That's the only reason you would care about your birthday. That's the only reason you would celebrate Christmas or Thanksgiving or any holiday or have a calendar system at all. So astrology is simply us tracking how bodies move through water, aka how particles move through waves, aka how planets move throughout the universe. And then when we get a cycle of that, we can literally get a gauge, a conscious gauge on the water cycle that we're inside of and how our bodies correlate to it and how we're connected to it. And then this is where we get the practice of astrology and all that fun stuff. So let's see what's up here. All right, Carl Jung and the Ways of Hermes. Before I continue my journey through Jung's Red Book, this is symbolreader.net if you want to check out this website. I would like to draw your attention. This is written by Symbol Reader. Okay. I would like to draw your attention to an excellent essay by Lance S. Owens, The Hermeneutics of Vision. Okay. C.G. Jung and Liber Novus. Cool. You can download it here. Below you will find a collection of crucial excerpts from the above-mentioned essay. I hope this will help you situate the Black Books published last year and the Red Book chronologically as well. And the Red Book chronologically, as well as gain an insight into Jung's unique hermeneutic method. It all started for Jung on the 12th of November 1913, when his soul called to him, which resulted in him starting to chronicle his inner experience in a black notebook. One something. First, there were 6 sequentially dated journals known as the Black Books. Do I feel like reading this? I do. Known as the Black Books, which began this night in November of 1913 and continued through the early 1920s. These journals might be best described as his primary and contemporaneous ledger of a voyage of discovery into imaginative and visionary reality, what he termed my most difficult experiment. By 1915, as the magnitude of his experience penetrated him, he felt the need for a more formal and elaborate recording of the visions. With the great artistic craft, employing antique illuminated calligraphic texts, I didn't even drink water today, bro. That's silly. I'm like low-key dehydrated, so my mouth is sticky right now. Why am I not drinking water? I'm not about to go get water. I'm about to power through. I'll drink water after this. He felt the need for a more formal and elaborate recording of the visions. With great artistic craft, employing antique illuminated calligraphic texts, calligraphy, text, and stunning artwork, Jung labored for 16 years translating the primary record of his experience from the Black Books into an elegant folio-sized leather-bound volume. This is the famous but long sequestered Red Book. Jung titled it Liber Novus, the New Book. Loved Latin. Woo. Was forced to learn Latin for 4 years throughout high school. All right, so karmic ties. Okay, that's all Greek, Roman stuff. Again, Hermes, like Greek and Rome, Egypt only matters because of me. Like, I built the pyramids single-handedly with my ideas. Now, of course, I require other spirits to believe in my ideas, just like this government requires other spirits to believe in its ideas, just like you as a spirit require other cells to believe in your imagination so you can have a body like this, right? So you have trillions of individuals who believe in your imagination to create your body right now. So that's the same for any government or any building or just any structure at all. And then we're just doing this in grander, bigger ways, right? 2, the key is immersion and involvement in the mythopoetic imagination, grasping the independent reality of imaginal voice and vision, and participating with it. I do not say granting reality to the experience. That would imply the sovereignty of the granting observer. The shattering fact that Jung knew is that the ego sacrificed all sovereignty in the experience. The demiurge was deposed. Daylight consciousness was not the sole creator of the real. Daylight consciousness was not the sole creator of the real. Right. And then the whole point, again, of this series is me bringing my Cymacism, bringing my Hermeticism into the internet and into our analysis of my past lives, so that when people are talking about me, we can actually provide clarity on what they mean. Because there's a lot of truth. There's so much truth here when people are talking about me. But because it's not connected by me, the actual individual that is creating these ideas, it's only ever going to be used and lost by the intentions of English and everyone who's ruled under English. And again, the whole point of English in general is to erase the actual truth of indigenous spirituality. And Hermeticism is indigenous spirituality. All the indigenous peoples in North, South, and Central America were getting along without one new world order, or without one world government controlling all of them, because they were using the Emerald Tablets, they were using Hermeticism, they were using my Mercury manifestation principles, basically. Like knowing that if you manifested your mind to connect with other minds, what's the point of war? You feel like what is the point of war? What is the point of fighting any mind outside of yourself if you know that you are creating your mind to connect with other minds? Like, it's not hard to get along from this Hermetic perspective. So indigenous peoples are all on that. The only reason we're in the world that we are now is because Europe invaded indigenous lands and then stole all the Emerald Tablets, stole Hermetic teaching, stole everything possible from indigenous peoples, and then twisted it into, you need to worship them or else you're going to burn in hell forever. Because again, that's the only way the New World Order, this European, American, Russian, global society type deal, can make itself matter, is telling you that you don't matter, so you need to make it matter. And it's like, well, if I don't matter, then why are you telling me I need to make you matter? And then boom, you just connected with yourself in a deeper part of your soul, right? Now you realize even deeper, like, I have to be an individual because I don't resonate with this other individual telling me I'm not an individual. That's been my journey as Chase. So that's the only way I can make this video for us to now all build upon and learn from, right? Now we can all level up forever and connect with our souls. Gang. This is me using my air to build Earth. I'm using my ability to communicate to consciously create a structure that benefits whoever gets connected to this structure. That's the point of all these series. That's the point of a body in general, right? That's the point of a business in general, right? So my whole business as Mercury, as CymaTree, is to let you know how you build your body. And then that happens in many forms, right? That's why we have many courses, right? Decolonize your face, get tough, whether you want to get tough as an academic apprentice or you want to get tough as an academic master, right? Either way, you're going to get tough by fasting. Through the ultimate functional fast. You're going to get tough by doing the hard thing and not eating anymore. And then learning that you have to create energy. Because the same world that's telling us that we are energy and that energy cannot be created or destroyed is the world that wants us to eat ourselves into oblivion and telling us that we had to eat 3 times a day, and they're pumping all the poisons and metals into what we eat. The FDA is constantly allowing so many toxins and poisons to be put into the food. I don't see how people could possibly trust them to authorize a shot when they're still letting baby food be full of heavy metals after like a century. It's been a century of baby food being toxified, and it just now came out and it's still okay. Somehow people are trusting this government to shoot their blood with more stuff because that's going to keep us safe. And it's the same people who are poisoning our water and poisoning our air. It's so weird. It's so weird down here. Like, y'all are weird. like the entity, like everyone who supports this system is like, I don't understand you from a spiritual perspective, but I do. You don't care. You don't really care about others outside of yourself, but you are on a journey of learning how to. And that's basically what it means to be a spiritual child. So like a spiritual adult, someone that you can tell who's spiritually mature, it's literally, I say, as Mercury, from everything I've seen, it's simply empathy. If you can't empathize with spirits outside of yourself, then that shows me that you haven't lived enough lifetimes yet. So all of my lifetimes, literally as Mercury, allow me to empathize with so many spirits. That's how I know that we're all individuals. That, like, I've seen through all of my lifetimes how we can't run away from our individuality. You either know that you are creating yourself, or you believe with the soul that you already created from your awareness that you were created by someone else's idea. And then that's where you get into demonic realm, because now you're trapped in language and energy, and you can get trapped by ideas, and you're just separate from your true heaven. You feel me? And you're separate from your true ability to create and manifest your imagination into the universe. And I don't like seeing that when I'm on Mercury. I don't like hanging out on my simulation and just viewing rape and murder and genocide coming in and out of the waters of the universe, and simulations rising and falling because people are too ignorant to know how to empathize with their neighbor. Every simulation, every civilization, every situation that I've seen where individuals can actually have a productive, stable government, it's because it's being ran by spiritually mature spirits, spiritually mature spaces. And to be spiritually mature, you have to know that you lived before. So it's no wonder that the New World Order and this whole American government is like the biggest failure in human history. And like, they're the biggest liars in human history. They're the biggest murderers in human history. They're the biggest evildoers in human history. It's because they literally have no empathy, and all they want to do is make us support them with no empathy. That's why they force us to become enslaved on a language that they make up to make us hate ourselves. And then all they do is continue to make us learn how we need to hate ourselves. That's all my life of learning Christianity has been, is chase, is reading a book that's teaching me why I should hate myself, and why I should hate being alone, and why I shouldn't take responsibility for my own power. The whole point of me as Chase creating CymaTree was to literally take responsibility for my power. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to be making these Spider-Man costumes and living this Spider-Man archetype, but to not take responsibility for my power. That's what made me water fast 24 days, do 2.5 tabs of acid on the end of that, and then literally learn how we as spirits are creating the simulation that we're in. And then from there, I'm just growing even more upon that. And now here I am doing this series to really bring my spiritual individuality into the collective internet in a way that makes all these ideas make way more sense. So there's so much truth here, right? But because it's not actually being shared properly, it's going to get lost in all the lies. So right here, daylight consciousness was not the sole creator of the real. The real itself is your soul. And basically whatever you consider real is something that you are choosing to vibe with. So your soul is the expression of your connection with yourself. But no one can see how you connect with yourself until you create a body. So you can't see how I'm connecting with myself right now until I make a body. And then I'm using this body to connect with a computer and a phone and lights and an apartment and a whole room and a whole system. And then like now my body is existing inside of bigger bodies. And then this body only exists because of smaller bodies. So the vibration creates reality. 3. From the very beginning of his journey in November 1913, Jung struggled with an interpretive task, translating his imaginative encounters, his visions, into words. Right. Now he needed to give this experience firm form. This was an intensely focused and deeply considered interpretive process. Okay. 4. I've mentioned very briefly 2 aspects of Jung's approach to the interpretation of his experience, how he worked the stone in his roles as physician and as scientist. But there is another vital and complex issue that must be considered. Jung had received a revelation. I have a visitor. All right, we got a visitor. We're back though. So, 4. I've mentioned very briefly 2 aspects of Jung's approach to the interpretation of his experiences, or just his experience. How he worked the stone in his roles as a physician and a scientist. But there is another vital and complex issue that must be considered. Jung had received a revelation. Absolutely. Revelations. I love revelations. He faces not only the hermeneutics of a vision, but of himself as a hermeneutic. So yeah, and this is why I started out this series like this. I just felt like I had a feeling in my soul where I'm like, I need to address how spiritual psychology is and how spiritual science is. And I didn't know how to do that at the level that everyone could comprehend. Then I'm like, oh, well, duh. The representation of the global consciousness is the internet. So let me just meet people where they're at on the internet and then dive deep into all these different things of basically showing how the scientific men of our era were complete spiritual, like, students. I'm trying to think of like a big, like a right word for it, like a spiritual advocate. Why am I losing my words right now? That's silly. There's a word. This is why all words are made up. You just make up a word right now. But no, there is a specific word for someone who's like a really big fan of something behind closed doors, but they don't show it to the public. Right? So I don't know what word that is, but that's the energy I'm talking about. When someone is a big supporter of something behind closed doors, but they don't show it. So this would be an example of like, if you meet a biker, he rides his motorcycle, right? He's got like all black. He's got spikes on his all black. He's got an eye patch, right? He's like super hard. His deltoids are 3 times the size of your legs, right? Like he's ginormous, raw. Cool. But when he goes home, you would have no idea that he actually has a Hello Kitty collection, right? You'd have no idea that he actually has a dollhouse. He likes to play dress up with his pretty Barbie dolls, like, and you would have no idea about that. So it's the same thing when we're considering all these people who are in the scientific community. They're like, yeah, science, 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 science. They go home and then they play with their dolls like spirituality, spirituality, spirituality. Straight up, Hermes, Hermes, Tehuti, Hermes, Tehuti, Hermes, Tehuti, Hermes' soul group, Egypt, Atlantis, Anubis, like, and then that's them playing at home. Then they go out of their house and they're like, science, Big Bang, one God, New World Order. You know, so this is the point of us knowing that there's the conscious and the subconscious. And subconsciously, we can never ever see a spirit's soul. All we can see is how they feel like communicating their soul to us, which is only possible through the body. So my body is not my consciousness. My consciousness is animating my body so your consciousness can understand my consciousness. So our minds are separate from each other and they are connecting and communicating through these bodies that are connected inside the same atmosphere. So this is where if your mind is lost in your body, you will very well just start to label yourself the body and then be like just lost in the physical reality. And then if you think that you are the mind, you're not going to know that you have lived over and over, because it's like what you have to do as a soul, and that you don't know that you are creating your mind from pure awareness of a vibration. And the vibration, like pure awareness of your circumstance, is what creates your imagination. And then what creates your mind is you feeling like you want to support your imagination, because then that's where you create a soul. And once this comes together, you experience yourself as a mind. So this is, again, how I build Mercury, and how everything with Hermeticism and Cymacism and any other system that I build makes sense, because I know how plants grow. Like I'm articulating how all of us as spirits use our internal elements to create external elements that allow us to consciously have sex and experience our spirituality together in a physical reality. Right? So the whole point of this series was me subconsciously being like, let me just look up Carl Jung real quick. Like, he's supposed to be a big guy in psychology, right? I'm pretty sure he is a huge worshiper of Hermes. And so this is a vibration that my spirit wanted to send me on. And yeah, here we are. Like, I had no idea that Carl Jung was literally, what are they calling him? A hermeneutic? It's like, yeah, a hermeneutic. There we go. Like, he literally loves the teachings of Hermes so much, he calls himself a hermeneutic. And in general, of course, the word hermeneutic describes any of these European men who are learning from me as Hermes. and then they want to get romantic and turn spirituality into science, because that's all they're doing. So anytime you see some scientific dude, he either learned from another scientific dude, or that scientific dude learned from Hermes how to turn spirituality into science. And then they're using their individual spirituality to get everyone lost in this loose, stupid form of science, like what's happening right now, right? So, behind the word hermeneutic resided a mythic and symbolic history of meaning. Jung knew it. Hermes was the interpreter of the words of the gods to men. So this is why I went through a very awesome astral journey. Like, this was like, I had a whole session where I separated my mind from my body, took my Merkaba out of my vessel, flew to other realms, and it was, I would have to make a whole different series for that, of my astral travels. But because that's more personal and less to the world and like knowledge base and whatever's out there, I'm not doing that yet, but I should. Because it was like through all those astral travels that once I finally came back to my body, I created Dissect the Dialect. And then that's where I just proved to myself even more that I know who I am, because I'm the only one who could do that series. And then everything from there is me building upon what I already know and how I already see reality. Elements only make sense through numbers. Every letter in the language has to come in a certain numerical form, meaning that that represents the elemental story of how the spirit is going to move through that language once it starts to speak life into it. And then this is where we can learn about every single letter of the alphabet based on its element and number. Because the number itself is channeling an element. So then when we can see the numbers, that's where we can see the elements, and then that's where we can see the overall energy of these things coming together. And then especially when we see like the words that are mainly used with those letters, we can super duper correlate how we create life with light. And this life only matters when you're vibing with it. So your body only matters to you because your heartbeat is vibrating the particles of matter that you call your body, right? So boom, we use our vibration to make life matter. And the only reason you would think that you're not making life matter is because someone taught you that their life matters more than yours. So now you think you need to use your vibration to make someone else's idea matter, because otherwise you would mean nothing. And that idea is bigger than you anyway, you know? So whatever. That's where, yeah, Hermes was interpreter of the words of gods to men, the mercurial messenger imaged in its planetary aspect, a tiny celestial luminosity visible only occasionally in twilight hours between light and dark, on swift journey between the gates of the sun and the land of human dreams. 6. A mysterious mode of interpretation was mentioned in medieval commentaries. It was called anagoge. Anagog. Sounds better to me. Its methods remained perpetually vague in many centuries of commentary. The Greek word itself means to lift up or elevate. Hermeneutics, in the anagogical mode, cleaves all other approaches with a vertical axis. It reads mystical meanings. So that's the point of our series, Symbology. That's our modern day hermeneutics. So that's me with my individual mind as Hermes, knowing how spirits channel their elements through numbers to create life, being able to see what every symbol means from there. So that's the point of like, language is a symbol is a symbol, anything is a symbol representing something coming from nothing. So now we're going to learn about that spirit creating that something. And now I know that whatever symbol I'm looking at is an expression of nothing, and only that nothing can express itself through this something. So now it's up to me, also as nothing, to interpret where this nothing is coming from. Because I can't see where any spirit is coming from. All I can see is how they're communicating with me through the body that we are sharing in one environment, right? Because that's where, again, people get lost. People who are lost in the body believe that we're all one. People who are lost in light believe that we're all one. People who are lost in wanting to connect with something outside of themselves because they don't want to be alone with themselves believe that we're all part of one soul, or we're all extension of one imagination, or that, right? So people who don't feel like individuals cannot perceive the individuality of others, just straight up. So that's where I know, as an individual who built Mercury, that individuals create collectives so they can connect with other individuals. And I'm wise enough to know that a lot of individuals want to connect by not feeling like an individual. And then this is where we can see that the soul is the vibration that kills your ego. So your soul is your collective energy, your ego is your individual energy. And when you don't want to seem like you're in your ego amongst a collective, you use your vibration to kill yourself. And then that's where you connect with ideas outside of yourself instead of ideas that you've created, so you can relate with spirits outside of yourself. And then that's welcome to hell. Now you're just like lost in other people's projections forever. This is why I built Mercury, because I had to make sense out of how I connect with the universe. And if I just came into the universe like everyone else and I didn't build a structure to anchor and quote unquote make money, literally make sense out of every time I make a body, because right now the only reason I'm alive is because my body is on this business trip and I literally have a spiritual mission here. I don't want to be alive in this realm for me. I'm alive for you. I'm on the internet right now for you. I don't need to be reading about me for me. I know who I am. Like, I'm literally doing all this so that the global collective can get on an accord of who Mercury actually is, and we can more consciously communicate about ancient history, and we can stop climate change. We can respect indigenous peoples. We can stop supporting their genocide, and now we can actually heal the world with Hermeticism. Because the whole point, again, is like all the governments that are controlling the world right now have stolen the creations of Hermes and are huge, huge fans of Hermeticism behind closed doors. They just can't say it openly, or else you would study Hermeticism too. Like, if the government that stole Hermeticism from me taught me Hermeticism in school, how are they going to convince me to stay trapped in school? Like, the whole point of Hermeticism is teaching you how to be free. So a government is not going to be able to keep me trapped in a job, or keep me trapped in school, or keep me trapped in prison, right? Or keep me trapped in whatever system they made to enslave me if they're teaching me how to be free. So the whole point is that they stole wisdom on how to be free from Hermes, from indigenous peoples, so that they could lie to everyone else and tell everyone that they're infinite slaves. And now the government behind closed doors, they can be as free as they want with money, while everyone thinks money actually matters. And now they're upholding the system that tells them that money matters. When that system was built by people who knows that money does not matter, they know you matter. That's why they're doing anything they can to convince you that money matters. So you'll do everything you can to get money. And then they can do anything they want with the energy that you use to get money. Because now the only thing you can do to get money is to do what they tell you to do. Like, once someone tells you you have to get money, now the only way to get money is to do whatever they're telling you to do to get money. Otherwise, you would just keep doing you and money wouldn't matter, and you're infinitely more valuable than that. But because someone else is like trying to figure out, how do I value you? Well, you're worth this amount of numbers I made up, so I need you to serve my numbers, and then I'll give you the numbers, and then you can live on the system that I'm building out of your energy. It's the ultimate trap, these light supremacists. And this is so disgusting how the world is operating. It's so vile here. All right, so I'm not here for me, okay? I'm here for you. Genuinely, you, the viewer. I'm here for you. I love you a lot. I have a lot of love in my heart to give. I didn't build Mercury for me. I built Mercury because I want to make sense out of how I connect with the universe. Now, yeah, I like shit to make sense, but also from what I've seen, everyone in my life likes shit to make sense too, and everyone in my past lives likes shit to make sense. All right? No one likes chaos. Chaos is just mandatory for stability to exist. That's why we have to constantly communicate our way out of chaos and into stability. And then the moment we get stable there, right, that's still vibrating in some chaotic way. And then we're communicating to make it more stable. And then it's always this journey of like us building the body to stabilize, but knowing that the body only matters because our soul is chaotic. And so then we're like getting better control over our chaotic soul as a spirit, and we're using our body to do that. And then it's just us connecting with ourselves through elements. And then we can do that together. So you're connecting with yourself by watching this, but we're doing that together because I'm connecting with myself by making this. And then this is where, because I'm connecting with myself by making this video, you're connecting with yourself by watching this video. Now we can get connected over what happened in this video without having to be there at the same time. And now way more people can get connected on this video without me having to be live speaking to everyone, because I built a structure out of me communicating it like this. And now everyone who gets connected to that structure can perceive the structure I built inside that structure. The internet, boom, you perceive this language, so now you understand English, boom, cool. And then you can like look up all the internet stuff we're looking up here and like see this, right? So again, I'm alive because I was called here to help. I'm not alive because I want to be here. I want to help, so there's that. But if this simulation, or if people aren't going to help me help them, like what's the point in getting called into a world where they want me to help them, but they can't even appreciate my help? Why do you want my help if you can't appreciate it? And that's literally slavery, right? Like that's how white people treat black people. Like that's what white people do. White people take over indigenous lands and then tell these indigenous peoples that they need to serve them or else they don't mean anything. And it's like, bro, if we didn't mean anything, then why are you taking over our land and making us serve you? Like, don't tell us that we don't mean anything while you're making us build up your empire in a land that you're stealing from us when we were perfectly happy alone. So this light supremacy is pretty wild. 7. Only those who had traveled the inner world and been wayfaring men could clearly recognize these ancient maps for what they were. To explain what he saw, he had to help others take the journey into psychic reality. Literally, welcome to CymaTree, all right? Everything that we see here in internet investigations with any messenger of Mercury is going to be CymaTree. Literally, Cychadelic, Cychopomp, creating reality, knowing that you are creating your body out of creating a soul, because you are observing as a spirit how you connect with your own ideas, and you want to connect those ideas with others. And that's the point of your soul. That's the point of you vibrating anything. That's the point of you having a heartbeat, so you can breathe, and now you can be conscious of the atmosphere that you've chosen to build this body, to build this structure inside of. Now we can level up together. Gang, gang. Pretty cool. So that's what that's all about right there, as far as astral traveling and like the DMT world or whatever. Like literally being able to go inside and then knowing that going in is actually going up. Going out is actually going down. Like the further out you go, the further low vibration you become. Whereas the more in you go, the higher vibration you become, because you're getting closer to your spirit, to your nothingness. And then that's where you're able to travel and do higher vibrational things, because you're more in touch with your space. Whereas if you feel like you're not a spirit and you need to run away from yourself, you're going to be in such a fearful vibration, right? You're going to feel like you're separate from yourself so much. You're going to be scared. You're going to be very scared of the environment. You're going to be very scared of things. And then that's where you're just going to be in the outer world, and you're constantly looking out, and you don't have peace about your soul, right? You don't have peace about your spirit. You're just experiencing life as a body, and now you're looking for God. And now you're looking for comfort. And now you're looking for all the desires that will make your body feel better or whatever. Instead of you just knowing that your body is a natural expression of your spirit, being at peace, and then choosing to share that peace with others. So now, but like when you come at it from that lens, you're literally able to know that you're whole. Now you're not a holy spirit, right? You're not holy as in you're full of holes and you're unfulfilled. So you need to possess other people and tell all these other individuals that you need to control them in order for them to be happy, No, you're not a Holy Spirit like the Bible says. You're a whole spirit, W-H-O-L-E. You feel satisfied inside of yourself. You feel like you have your own simulation. So now you have your own fruits, you have your own garden, and now you can share the gifts from your fruits with other spirits. Again, that's all in Dissect the Dialect. So that's where the English language like felt like a love letter to me. As far as just me being the god of language and me being able to dissect the dialect in any language at all. Specifically seeing how English, like, they literally could not, like, only I as Hermes could dissect how these entities fully used Hermeticism to build the English language. And this is where I as Chase have just been being forced to speak it my whole life, naturally made the connections that I'm supposed to make to relate with you as Chase. So it's like the only way that I could dissect the dialect is because my soul is in the vibrational resonance to be able to have these memories and these experiences to make these connections. And I can communicate it in a certain way because of my individual spiritual perspective. So no one else in the universe has a spiritual perspective to be able to analyze or dissect like I do, unless, of course, they are older, as old as me, or even just connected to Mercury, because this is what my soul group is on. Like, anyone who's connected to my simulation of Mercury, anyone who's like really a psychedelic Cychopomp, like, yeah, they're trained in hermeneutics, they're trained in symbology, they're trained in everything that we do on Mercury, so that we all know how individuality works. And now we'll never get lost in someone telling us as individuals that we are extensions of individuals outside of themselves. Because that's like basically the ultimate like thing that you're dealing with when you're stepping into hell or going into spaces outside of yourself, is other spirits wanting to tell you that they created you and that you're not created. So that's what I'm dealing with here as Chase. Right? Like, I go through this whole religion where I'm being told by people who use Hermeticism to create Christianity and take over my indigenous lands that I'm not creative. And now I have to be here making these videos, building this business, pointing out all the holes in all those ideas and all that logic. And then showing subconsciously why we have climate change, why indigenous peoples have been enslaved under the term black, and why genocide is the profitable industry in this simulation right now. It's all because of these light supremacist entities stealing spirituality and using it to create science that gets everyone who's born into physical reality lost in demonic details. So that's the end for this page. This is Symbol Reader. Very nice. It's all about knowing that you are psychedelic. All right, so CymaTree, your psychedelic Cychopomp, letting you know that you are already dead. Your death is your soul, aka then your soul is really your life and your body is really your death. But your body is what allows you to experience life, but your body would not be alive without your soul. So now we got the circle, right? We get psychedelic. So much love. This has been Internet Investigations. I'll see you later. Peace.